All right, take 3. This is about installs for your software. And you probably have a fundamental choice. If you're working on Linux, I'll work with you individually, but your choice really is one of choosing whether or not you're working on a Mac. Okay, we'll put that over here. Or if you're working on Windows 10. And we'll put that over here. Now this little diagram I'm drawing is called a flow chart, and they're actually quite useful in lots of computer contexts. It used to be that people would draw these out by hand very carefully and then code from them. Today you don't see that as much, but they're still used for some things. We use flowcharts in our research lab having to do with setting up and designing protocols to verify that those protocols are correct. So the first thing in the land of Mac is installing Git. And the easy way to install Git is to do it with a package manager called brew. And to get brew to install, you need a thing called Xcode. So there is a video installing Xcode. Xcode comes from Apple. You go into the Apple store, search for Xcode, click install. So I didn't do a video on Xcode, just go search for it and install it. Okay? Now, when it comes up and you're running Xcode, you have to exit Xcode, but you want to check the box that says that you accepted the license or none of this is going to work, because Xcode won't actually run until you accept the license. So do that. There's a video on doing this install process with Git, brew, and Xcode. Brew requires going in and installing using a command line. You get your first experience using a terminal, probably. And once you get that done, then do Anaconda. And I did do a video on Anaconda so that you can see that. And then do VS Code. Now, when you install VS Code, you're going to end up with it without some of the things that you need. And I did do a video on this, but there's going to be a configuration we're going to have to do later. But the configuration, we get to do common to both of these basically. Now, on Windows, it's a little bit different since we probably want to install Chocolatey. Chocolatey is a Windows thing like brew. It's a package manager that allows you to install other things. And then install Git. You need Git to access the GitHub stuff for the class, like source code that you probably don't want to have to cut and paste. And then you want to do Anaconda. You want to do the same thing with VS Code. And I have videos for these things. And then there's some configuration and setup so that your Anaconda uses, or so that VS Code uses Anaconda. So some configuration, and then you can do the homework. And realistically, the homework is pretty darn easy. It's a single line. It's just hello world, and then just do a screen capture and turn in the screen capture to show that you got through this process. So the homework piece to turn in is really easy. The process is really all about you being familiar with how to install software on your system and get it to the point where you can make productive work and get things to happen. So, you know, when you're doing this, okay, this isn't about how much code we're building. This is about configuring our environment for productivity. And we're going to talk a lot about what we do in our environment that makes it productive or doesn't. Because when you have a good productive environment and you can sit down and actually get work done, a lot of times the work itself isn't that hard. It's a question of, do I have interference? Is my environment working for me? Do I have the things that I need to get to where I need to be? So that's the introduction. Watch the videos you need. I know that at least a couple people in this class didn't need to see these videos because they've already turned in the homework and they ask questions like, what do I turn in? I said a screen capture at the end. And they've already done it. So if you don't need these videos, don't do them. If you left out some piece, like you didn't install Git on your Mac, and you need that piece later in the class, go and do that particular piece. So pick the videos you need. This class is not about, you know, watch all the videos. It's about learning how to do the things you need to be productive and making that work. So these are the pieces, and pick the parts that you need. If you get stuck on something, one of these things didn't install right, or you haven't gotten it configured right, or you're having trouble with Chocolatey and something is not right set on your system. Let's get together one-on-one and work out the details and figure that out for your system. Because these work on my systems and my test systems doesn't mean that you're just going to blaze through them, or you left something out and didn't click on something that you didn't see in the video. It happens to all of us. So that's what you get in some sort of a flow chart, and there are a set of videos and instructions. There's also some web pages, especially for VS Code. There's a link in there where you can go out to the VS Code to their site where it's built, and they have a set of videos as well that you can go through, which are useful and really well put together as you would expect from Microsoft. And they're good to go watch and read through their material too. So this install process is really what we have out of Chapter 1 in the book. Next set of stuff is going to be about using variables, and that's Chapter 2, and we will be into that next week.